Hello and welcome to another episode of Pokémath. My name is Stefan Eriksson, and today in this episode we're gonna, well, if flipping is math, then you're at the right place at least. We're gonna be talking more about Epic Splash. More precisely, we're gonna be taking a look at some gameplay of Epic Splash, discussing some deck lists, and I got a special guest for you today because, as you may see, I'm not sitting in my, usual surroundings. I'm even got Chum Lee here by me, and some certain person's winnings world's deck list stuff, and you may guess who it is, but in any case, I would like to welcome my special guest here today. Hello, Jesper.
What's up?
So, what are you going to be doing here today?
Well, we two are going to be playing some Epic Splash. I'm going to do the commentary after the game afterwards, and hopefully it pans out and we can get to show how fun this new iteration of the format is.
Exactly that. So first, before we go into some gameplay where Jesper will be providing commentary, we're going to take a look at today's lists. And remember, everyone, if you want to build your own and take a look at the format, I'm going to be providing a link in the description below where you can check out the rules, the format itself, and the legal card list so you can build your own Epic Splash deck. But enough about that, let's take a look at today's list. So on screen now, you should be able to see the list that Jesper was be playing. So Jesper, could you tell briefly about your list here today?
I mean, I aim for getting, our Evolution Exodia combo out, right? So I was playing a lot of draw cards. We've seen stuff like Blaine's Gamble, Blaine's Last Resort, and basically Nugget as well, of course. And then we're also playing Roller Skates Gym Badge. And I even played a card flip game, which is actually kind of funny for this sort of format because the cards, as you may notice, actually, most of the deck is actually trainer cards. Yeah. So just a little math tip for you guys here. If you're using card flip game and you're choosing one opponent prizes, just always say trainer. And you will usually draw 2 cards.
Did Jesper just math everyone here? That is new times, ladies and gentlemen. New times ahead. So if you go and count this list, don't be worried that you find 61 cards, because why do you find 61 cards on this list, Jesper?
As we've been building this format, Epic Splash, Magikarp Break was not a legal Pokemon card. So we're using it as a token, a sort of like a V-Star-ish marker, right?
Yeah.
Where once a game you can evolve your Magikarp into Magikarp Break. And that's why we have 61 cards.
So indeed, actually, it's a good change for the format because it enables you to play more other funny flip cards because you actually play 61 cards. So everybody will have their own Magikarp Break token, which you can print on the document online or make your own. You're more than welcome to do so. And let's take a look at what I went for today's list. So as you can see as well, of course, the 5 evolution cards, because they are also standard in the list that you must play. I also chose the Among Us, but a few other different choices. Jesper would argue that I went too consistent for the format by playing 4 Dual Ball and an Apricot Maker. Yeah. But I did not really want to get dunked in this format. And that could happen, as you may see or may not see later. But also cards that Trash Exchange, Recycler, and especially something I really like and I want to point out is Digger. I really think Digger is a great card in this format. Random as most of the cards in this format, but a really fun card. And as you can also see, you see different languages, because remember, we also have the requirement that you can play whatever language that you want, as long as the card back is the same. So that also means you can play, I believe, even Russian, Dutch, or whatever languages that are a little more obscure out there, as long as all the card backs are the same. But you can see here now, ladies and gentlemen, that we have 2 different takes on the list. And Jesper got the cool break. I just got a slap that says break on it because I forgot to print one. Oops. But in any case, you can make your own whichever way you like. And I think, anything I forgot, Jesper?
No, actually not. I think your list is quite terrible, but that's what we're going to figure out while we're playing, right?
Well, there's only one way to figure that out, right? So I will now let Jesper take over the commentary. So good luck, Jesper, and don't make me regret this.
No, you won't, for sure.
Excellent. See you around, ladies and gentlemen, and until next time. And Jesper, take it away.
Thank you.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the first recorded video of the new Epic Splash format. Yes, Steph and I have sat down together and agreed upon, you know what? Let's go ahead and get a match started, get a match recorded, and of course, getting it casted by myself. And we see here, of course, we're going to be playing not 60 card mirror as Epic Splash usually was. We have been playing the new side event legal format that we've been working on for the past half year or so. And today we're going to finally see the first bits of it. And we see, of course, myself on the right, Jesper Eriksson, and On left, Stefan Eriksson, of course, owner of this channel, and the guy I usually listen to. But today, you're going to be listening to me instead. And of course, we see, as known much in the Epic Splash format, it mulligans a lot. You're playing 4 basic Pokemon, so of course you're going to be seeing a ton of mulligans. And of course, as Stefan and I have been looking at a list previous to this, there are some different approaches that we've taken. My list, perhaps having more draw cards and a bit more element of chance to it rather than Stefan's, where he has been more consistent with playing Apricorn Maker and of course playing the full set of 4 dual balls. It's going to be quite exciting what's going to go down here. We are going to have some interesting matches for sure, because as always, Epic Splash kind of goes into all the different ways there are of winning a game of Pokemon. Whether that's decking out your opponent, whether that's pulling off the 5 evolutions for an Exodia effect, or if it's just by taking all your 6 prize cards. We see here again another mulligan for myself. As said, typical starts in this Epic Splash format. We have seen as much as up to something like 15 mulligans, and I'm sure people out there have tried several more. And it's typical. As said, 4 basic Pokemon. That's all we're going to be seeing at the start of these games. And of course, the only thing you can wait for when you're shuffling up your deck is hopefully 1, go second, so you can play supporters to not get donked, which is an incredibly important piece of this format. And then we see myself getting that basic Pokemon, getting that Epic Splash Magikarp, and see Stefan drawing 3 mulligans. Get to place our prize cards there as well. And we flip, and I get to go first, right? No, Stefan gets to go first, and we see him top decking there. And basically, of course, what Stefan wants to do in this case is just to draw as many cards as possible. He's going to play Blaine's Quiz. I have to guess what kind of card he put down there. And it was a Pokemon. And since I guessed incorrectly, it means that Stefan gets to draw 2 cards. And most likely in this format, you're usually just guessing for trainer cards on all the guessing cards that you could be playing. Why that is because that mostly 2/3 of your deck are trainers, if not more. So therefore, it's a high likelihood that it's a trainer getting put down there. And there's a lot of times where we see a bunch of trainer hands that get put down, and stuff like last could be interesting. We'd see here another one of this is coming down. Another trainer guess, of course, of the card flip game. Stefan gets to draw 2 more cards, revealing that surprise box off the prizes. And of course, as said, always guessing trainers is always a good move here. Get to see the turn pads over. See the first check in the discard pile here. It's pretty interesting because the differences in this list give a different approach, right? Because you're going to be seeing a way more aggressive strategy from the right side of things here, and we see a Lima straight off the bat. Not the most playable of hands. There was a choice between Gambler and a Lima as far as I could see there. But of course here, the more consistent option, funnily enough, is actually the Lima. And we see a Hats from myself there and Tails from Stefan. So really, really fast start in terms of the disruption. And of course, this format also holds everything in terms of disruption when you're playing stuff like Lima for hand disruption. You're playing Team Rocket's handiwork for decking out or milling your opponent a bit extra, Cyrus initiatives to cherry pick cards, or just straight off the bat delinquent to do stuff. So you get the 6 cards here. Not too much open here. See a Lass in the hand, and there's a Lass being played, which means that both players reveal their hands. They take all their trainer cards in hand, and then they shuffle them into their deck. So if Stefan gets to top deck something like Water Energy here, get a knockout, the game is already over, and we'd see the first donk happening. But then again, Stefan's hand did not contain any Water Energy whatsoever, rather that being Water or Splash. So it means that I get to fire off the first attack, basically being uninterrupted here, as far as being seen. Of course, Stefan so much relying on his top deck now. We see the first Epic Splash of the game, and double heads. All right. Gonna take a prize, and Stefan top decks. An old PC we see here. And he's gonna play it. All right, let's see what we get here. And no. And just a straight pass over. Stefan really not pleased with that, and we get two cards off the right handiwork there, and we see that Epic Splash now. Now, double tails, all right. So gets one extra top deck. A Team Rocket's handiwork ain't gonna help much because, yes, it might just discard the top two, but then again, gets a break, give himself 10 more HP, because in this format, we've made the Magic Card break into sort of one game action, which you can do at any time. And we see the double Hetzer, so had Stefan not braked, he would have been in a world of trouble. And we can see the arcade game. It says shuffle your deck before using this card. Then you may reveal the top three of your deck. And if you see any two cards with the same name, you may take them both to your hand. And he fails it. Of course, not the most consistent option when, in Stefan's case, besides a dual ball, which he's playing 4 off, there's not many 4-offs besides a Magikarp. And actually, that's it when it comes to it. So we see a Versus Seeker for handiwork. 2 cards, dual ball, and Flareon. And the discarding of these evolution pieces is actually really important. We see double heads, and that's already the first game over in just 3 attacks. We've seen 4 Epic Splash from my side and 3 double heads. And I mean, that's what can happen in these formats because it is just so flip heavy, and that's what we're going to get to. So in this game 2, of course, we're hoping for a better start off Stefan's field. I mean, Stefan didn't get to do much everything. Yes, we played that Alima, almost sticking Stefan's hand to nothing after, having gone first, not getting that second card down, and then being able to just lasso everything away in his hand. And basically, sticking him to his top decks only. Old PC didn't help. Top decking handiwork didn't help either. And then we're into a game 2 where most likely I will be going first. Let's see here. Also another mulligan. So 2 sets of mulligans. As said, quite common when it comes to this format. But, of course, what we always love to see is a lot of this action going down. Also another interesting list option for Stefan. He's not gone full in on the gamble. He's not quite embraced the spirit of the Epic Splash format by only playing 2 gamblers, whereas, of course, myself, I'm playing the full set of 4, wanting to draw as many cards as possible. Of course, taking a small chance of me getting tails on him. So you see another hand drawn, and another mulligan from my side, and from Stefan's as well. So, another set of mulligans. Gonna get in there. And as it may seem super obvious at this point, of course, this format is incredibly flip heavy, incredibly RNG heavy, and it's all about the luck of the draw in most cases, but that's what also makes it fun. This format is as uncontrollable as it could be with some epic combos as well. So you Magic Card for both sides, of course. The only basic Pokemon that can be played down, we have decided to not have the Dream Ball combo in this because of the evolutions. It seems quite overpowered to have an evolution down there since it would basically just function as a big wall. So we see the attachment and the pass. So this is really, really dangerous. If Stefan gets to an energy card and gets Epic Splash for 2 hets, he would already have the game. We see 1 heads off the dual ball. And I mean, in this format, we don't see as much price checking. The easiest price check to do would be to check for all the evolutions, since that is a win condition in itself, and that you would get to see that. So we see 1 heads only, getting 1 card, of course, as the only target there is. And I mean, with Stefan's deck list playing 4 dual ball and Apricorn Maker, of course that's what he wants to happen, that he gets out these cards to be able to avoid being donked. So we see another card flip game, and of course he gets Trainer, as we always do, gets 2 cards, and still no water energy, but the arcade game gets in there, shuffles his deck, as he's supposed to. A tap, and we see no targets. And by no targets, I rather mean that there were no 2 of the same card in those top 3. And basically what we're always trying to do in these kind of show matches is that just to try as many different cards as possible. Of course, I have not decided to go for the card flip game, or rather, the arcade game, whereas Stefan has. So So she's shuffling up there. After that, another tap. And you see the roller skates. And Stefan just getting incredibly unlucky here. He's stuck with a hand basically with Among Us, Espion, Digger, and Delinquent, and just has to pass it over because the first delivery drone of the game. And no. So I'd still be left without a second card in play, which is of course a bit dangerous, and I have to play the Lima. Unfortunately here, good to see a refreshment off Stefan's hand, and he gets the flip. Tails. So I'll be drawing 6 cards on the right there, and Stefan of course will be getting free, unfortunately, and we just get to see, you know, if Stefan actually gets out of this. Of course, he's in a stable position right now. He has 2 magic cards in play, which is a-okay in this position. And of course, he still would have the option to break on his next turn if he gets knocked out, to maybe try and put an effort up to defend himself. But we see here another card comes down, and we see dual ball first. 1 heads. All right. I'll get to see the same amount of price check in here because of course we have to check for all the evolutions. They are all there, it seems. Just a little bit further just to make sure. I'll get the shuffling up here. Much as that we seem, it's going to be so important with these epic splash flips off the attack because there's going to be a lot of pressure put onto Stefan if this hits double heads. Of course, he get to use the effect of the break as he can, but will it be enough to kind of make sure this doesn't happen? And we see the Chaos Gym and the break, so kind of trying to stick Stefan in a position here he doesn't want to, and he's going to play Nugget. It's a card, if you draw from the top of your deck, you may draw 3 cards, but he has to flip for the Chaos Gym first, flips Tails, and usually Chaos Gym would say that if you flip Tails, your opponent gets to use it. But since Nugget has to be drawn from the top of the deck, I would not be able to use it. And of course, Chaos Gym says that whenever you play a trainer card that isn't a supporter card, you have to flip. If you flip heads, you can use it as normally. If you flip Tails, your opponent gets the chance to use it. For example here, see a Tails, and I can still get to decline if I'd like. And of course in this case here, I say no. You can see here a surprise box, putting some bad cards in Stefan's hand, and I actually choose to pick up the Nugget and give it to his hand. And Surprise Box is not the best card in this format. It's definitely one of the ones that we're looking to cut first. And we'd see another knockout of Epic Splash. Not picking the Team Rocket Sane to work. And I think it was in Lima drawn after the hand shuffle there. But then again, if Tails is flipped out the Chaos Gym, and with Stefan being stuck in the hand position he is, why go for it? And we just see draw, Epic Splash. As many of these games would go down to when Chaos Gym is in play. It's incredibly difficult to actually get something going, and Chaos Gym is mostly described as a card that sort of stops the game in its tracks. And we see Windstorm, which is the same as Field Blower. He gets the heads, gets to remove that Chaos Gym there. And we get to see a Blaine's Gamble, discards 2 cards, and if you flip heads, he will draw 4, and he gets Tails. So he's left without any cards in hand. We can see to pass over. There's a lot of good cards to use here in this position, but usually when your opponent's stuck with nothing, it's all about, the disruption element you can get to. Just see the Epic Splash there for a fail, and roller skates off the top, and heads. All right. Get to use anything, and just a Lima straight off the bat. So shuffle in, both players draw, free if they flip Tails, 6 if they flip heads, and we see the Tails flip from Stefan again. And once again for myself, we see 6 cards drawn off the Lima. Been flipping really, really hot in this set so far, and it's something that, of course, we want to continue when it comes to the further flipping of, more Limas, more Gamblers, more Handiworks, and of course, as most importantly, Epic Splash. See 6 cards drawn, and from Stefan's side, we see a Gambler. We see Gym Badge as well. All right. Let's see if he flips him any. 1 heads. 2. All right. And just 2 cards off Gym Badge, which is actually okay for a card where, you know, it's only 50-50 whether or not you would actually draw a single one. So getting 2 is actually fine if you can average that with the Gym Badge. And of course see another dual ball for Magikarp. And with that, another tap, and Stefan deciding not to play the Gambler here. See Nugget off the top. 1, 2, 3. Best top deck you can have in this game. And of course we see another Gym Badge coming from Jesper's side here. Or myself, sorry. Just a single card. Still okay to get. And here we get to see the card flip game. Guessing Trainer. And he gets it. Alright. Gets 2 cards off the right guess. And a splash energy to the card. So we can see here, you know, it's forming up in my favor here, definitely, because there's just more of a board presence. Stefan has what seems like a weak hand, and of course a Birch is really good to avoid giving Stefan the option of drawing off Ilima, and of course getting that heads, meaning that I can draw 7 cards instead of 4, which I would get for my tails. So continuing this streak of flipping really, really well when it comes to it, and we can see here that, of course, it's going to be difficult to knock out that Magikarp break. I don't play Digger in my list, so I would have to use Fighting Fury Belt, retreating to a Magikarp, if I would like to do so. But here, it's going to be a different case. Just going to go for Epic Splash, double tails, so no attack happening. The Stefan does play Digger, gets hats, which means I get to flip, and hats. All right, and then Stefan flips, tails. So Digger is a card that's interesting here, because if you flip heads, your opponent gets a flip. And if they flip tails, they take 10. But if you on the initial flip would flip tails and Digger, your active Pokemon would take 10 as well. So it's the way of kind of manipulating the damage so you can actually knock out a Magikarp break in this format, where it has huge upside potential, but of course, as we see, the downside is real as well. And a Gambler for 1 only, and just to pass over, drops the card. Come on. Let's see, dual ball there being played. Nope. Double tails of that. You see random receiver. Flipping a card from the top of your deck until you hit a supporter card. And there's going to be a lot of cards flip through here, but we see a handiwork there. All right. And Handiwork's actually the best supporter, of course, when your opponent's sitting in these positions where they're kind of stuck. Now, we had the initial one with the Chaos Gym sticking Stefan a bit, but now it's just Stefan doesn't have any hand cards after that Gambler to 1. So, seeing the Handiwork off the random receiver, really nice to start to mill down your opponent's options. And of course, what you're targeting with these mills is their consistency cards, their evolutions, and we see Snake Eyes off that Handiwork, so no cards discarded. Energy attachment for turn. And Battle City for heads. Alright, so we get to draw cards off the Battle City. A card flip game. Another trainer, please. Yes, alright. Get to draw 2 extra cards. And something really interesting also popped up in my hand as well. Sabrina's Psychic Control, which, if you flip heads on it, you could use any effect of your opponent's trainer discard pile. Now with Sabrina, for example, if I were to pick a Delinquent, I could get to remove the Battle City, so we could stick Stefan for a few more turns off the top of his deck. As it seems right now, there are no Delinquents in this discard pile. So, I can't do that. I can't do that, already supported. And I think we catch it. Now, so just putting that 4 cards in hand. Gambler back. Just backtracking a bit. I think we're going to get to a hold here in a second. Of course, we did backtrack the Delinquent, but of course, as we're playing this for fun, of course, there are going to be no penalties. We did sort of repair the game state. Of course, I got to see Stefan's hand, which is definitely not intentional at this point. not too good. And we see something happening off the side of the table there. Uh-oh, we have a judge call. We have a judge call. And yeah, so I made a legal play. I tried a double supporter. We did. Reline the game state again. Of course, I got to see Stefan's hand, the 1-card hand. And we're just going to see what the judge gives in this case. All right, it's going to be slap on the wrist. All right. That's a cheap way to get out of a double supporter, which in many game states would have been double prize penalties, game losses. But in this case, in a home game, we would end up with a slap on the wrist. And Stefan just draws a Jolteon. And he lifts off Battle City, draws 1 extra. And he gets... What is that? That is... Can't quite see with the angle, but it doesn't look good. And we see the Battle City from my side again. Draws. And we get anything here? No, just Epic Splash. And no attack. All right. And we're going to continue on. Draws the last. Goes for Battle City first. Nope. A pass. Battle City. No. Straight on to Epic Splash. No, again. All right. So the game being kind of stuck here for a bit. With me not being able to land any Epic Splashes in. Of course, Stefan getting to play more cards. And he plays Lucky Stadium down, which is basically the same as the Battle City. But of course, since it's a different name of a stadium, it's allowed to be played in this case. And he plays the Delinquent to remove the stadium. Of course, I have to discard 3 cards from my hand when he does so. Discards Energy, Vaporeon, and the Field Blower. And just to pass over, and oh, that's another evolution piece. Another failed Epic Splash. Let's see, Blaine's Quiz. It's going to put down the Apricorn Maker. They're making me guess what it is. I guess the trainer card. And if the opponent guesses correctly of Blaine's Quiz, they are allowed to draw 2 cards. So I get 2 extra cards in this case here, and it's going to just help me immensely. Of course, trying to build up my hand again. We see Peking Red card, and it seems like Sylveon are the 2 card draws of that. Of course, Peking Red card, super interesting in this format to get your opponent away from strong hands, as well as just, you know, whenever your opponent's trying to build up these Epic Splash moments with diggers and stuff like that. Trying to stop them with the tracks, and always, of course, getting to get rid of those evolution pieces in hand, which of course, when you gather all the 5 evolution pieces, you get the win straight off the bat. And we see a gym batch for just 1. Pretty good flipping so far, honestly. Aside from Epic Splash, but of course we hit one here. Magikarp Break goes out, and it's like a used V-Star in this case. He's not going to be able to recover the Magikarp Break ever in this game again. And Stefan just seems stuck here. So Handiwork gonna rain down. Double hats. And wow. Alright. We've seen Versus Seeker and Old PC as the 2 recovery options for consistency cards. We see Last as well. One of the only ways to disrupt me in this case. And we see a... Wow, okay. Random receiver off the top of the deck gets the Birch in this case. We get to see the Rocket's Minefield and a Birch. So Stefan being able to refresh his hand once again. And he gets Tails. So he only gets 4 cards. And after, you know, all of these Tails flipping, it just continues for Stefan getting in this case. And finally gets an energy though. It's been a while in the making. We see the first Epic Splash come from Stefan's side this late. And it gets the 30 onto the Magikarp Break. And of course, since Magikarp Break has 40 HP because of the Break Evolution or the... Ditto marker in this case, we get to see that. And just going to be checking what Stefan has. We can see some crazy combinations. Of course, we have Rocket's Minefield Gym. Stefan doesn't seem to have a lot of cards in hand. So we get Sabrina's Psychic Control. It's going to be Tails. Otherwise, there could have been a Delinquent to put Stefan down to 0 cards in hand. But we're just going to see an Epic Splash. And it hits. No. And just more useless cards for Stefan. He doesn't really have a grip of this game yet. And he is really far from actually getting a grip of this game. Of course, the most dangerous part of Delinquent is that if your opponent has Among Us in hand and they discard the Among Us of the Delinquent, they will get to discard your hand as well. And not just 3 cards, your whole hand. As he double tails up Epic Splash. Gambler comes in. And we see a heads. Alright. And Stefan just bowing back in his chair. I mean, the amazing difference between flipping heads and tails off Gambler, of course, is the difference between 1 and 8 cards. And of course, we see the 8 cards here, and not much drawn, it seems. Get a little discard check. It's going to be a Versus Seeker for Handiwork here in this turn. And a double tails again. So the second time in this game that we've seen double tails off Handiwork from my side of things. But just going to see Epic Splash and a double heads. Alright. Gets to pick up the Magikarp with the Splash Energy. As we've seen many times in previous formats with stuff like Greninja Break decks that were frequent users of it. And a double tails. Stefan is just flipping nonsense in this game. And we're not seeing much offense from him here. We are seeing Stefan trying to stabilize here in these cases and basically just trying to, get a grip in this game. We see the Recycler getting to put a card on the top of his deck. And he can go routes here. He can go either for consistency card to draw some cards, but he goes for the Flareon, trying to pull out the Evolution Exodia. And we just see a failed one there. And we get to see a Fighting Fury Belt. A bit of consideration here. But we just see the Epic Splash. No. So 7 draws the Felly and put on top with Recycler. And he gets a double heads for the knockout. So there goes my Magikarp break. And up comes my Magikarp with the Fighting Fury Belt. Versus Seeker comes along again, of course, and gets another Handiwork. And that's the sort of process in this game right now. That, we're both trying to get after each other. And, oh, wow. A Glaceon went there. And there's limited recovery for these evolution cards in format. We got Buddy Buddy Rescue. We got Old Rod. And we have Old PC as the main ones to get those back. And, of course, Trash Exchange can also get them back. We see Handiwork for 4. Not even a single evolution speeds there. Really lucky from my side of things here, not getting those discarded. We're going to see a Roller Skates for Tails. And even though that, this game could be ended with an Epic Splash, it's of course not certain that I get the double hat. So therefore, I still have to play out my turns and consider what it would be afterwards. So we just see a Gambler here. Not much to offer in that hand. And we just see a heads. All right. And Stefan just giving the signaling off, how many times has he hit on these Gamblers? And I can say as much, it's been loads at this point. Let's see, free Greedy Die. All free Greedy Dies off the list. And we just see another Gambler. Hand was not something that was really good. We just get to see another flip. And another heads off the Gambler. Stefan just whiffed the hands on his lap. Just waiting to see whenever I could get unlucky. And it seems like it's never going to happen that he's going to get an opponent who's going to get unlucky against him in this format. Get to see the 8 cards drawn. 6, 7, and to the 8. And a Carp with a splash on it. Always the best position to have. See the Parallel City. So it's, with the right side facing Stefan, it means that his Grass, Fire, and Water Pokemon would be doing 20 less damage on their Epic Splashes, putting them down to doing just 10. And of course, off the last, both hands have to be fully revealed. Shuffling all the trainer cards. And basically here, from my point of view, it was just to, disrupt Stefan as much as possible, making sure that he has less options to work with in his hand, and of course, way more way to get to the Carp. And we just see double heads for game. And that is 2-0. And since we have gotten these 2, on average, very short games here, we decided to go for a game number 3 to have Stefan maybe fight back for a bit of his honor here in this case. So we decided for going for an extra round. And see here, Stefan's just going to be checking a bit here. But this game has shown pretty much everything. We haven't seen an Evolutions win yet. But we've seen, tons of flipping. Jesper winning on basically benching Stefan out. And myself, of course, flipping a ton of heads on Gambler. In this case, I don't think I've yet to miss a Gambler, which of course in this format is perfect because if you hit all your Gamblers, well, then you basically have free shuffle and draw 8 cards in your deck, which of course in any deck from the standard format would be jealous of that. And this format is made to be silly. This format is made to be fun, interactive, and flippy. And so far, that's what we have gotten for sure. I've seen another flip. And not quite sure who goes first here. We do, as usually, see a round of mulligans to start off, though. And of course, the Epic Splash format is something that, Stefan and myself are two of the architects behind in its current iteration, of course. Hoping that it will, of course, continue to be a side event. It has been a side event at 2 regionals so far as test events and had good success in Gdansk and in Stuttgart this season. Trying, of course, to create a different environment for just fun gameplay. And another round of mulligans are going to be coming down. Card being dropped. And in this case here, of course, don't forget to, after watching this, check out Stefan and myself's Twitter, Stefan's Classroom, or at Jesper K. Eriksson on Twitter, checking out, these lists that we've been brewing up. We will both be posting our lists, and we've already posted the full Google Docs document with all the legal cards in this format, as well as, how many cards you could be playing of each. And what's funny in this format is that it's not a ban list that we're working with. We're working with a limited format list, which means that we have sat down and looked at what cards are okay to be played in Epic Splash. And you would only be able to pick cards off that list to construct your Epic Splash deck. And that's why that we can see so many differences in my own and Stefan's list here. I get to see double carp here. I'm not quite sure who goes first. It's going to be myself going first here. That's why we don't bet the second carp. So we start with roller skates. And tails of that. Another skates. And get the heads off that. So drawing 3 extra cards. Getting the nugget there off the skates, only going to be working at the start of your turn. So unfortunately not going to be able to play that just yet. Just waiting to see. We do have to delivery drone as one of the options, but just a pass over. Card flip game, guess a trainer, and yes, draws 2. Another arcade game. And we haven't seen arcade game hitting yet in these matches. And just a tap. And no hits. And it could be argued that, Evolutions could be picked off arcade game, but since they're not card of the same name, of course they would not be able to be picked off the arcade game, and therefore Stefan has to be shuffling those back in. A bit disappointed, of course, but his hand does seem a lot better right now to be working with, and he goes for the Apricorn Maker for the consistent setup. Could have gone for the Lima for, a bit of disruption route and a bit of that, but just going a consistent route rather. Going for a dual ball. Double hats off the first one. So he might be able to get down all of his magic up this game. And of course, while doing that, rendering the rest of his dual balls useless. But also being able to have thinned out his deck extra. And we see all 4 cards. All the gang have gathered in this turn 1. And board-wise, we could already say that Stefan is a bit ahead. Of course, not being able to be donked on the coming turn. We see a gym batch as well. 1 hats. Just 1 hats. And draws an Espeon. So he's starting to gather these evolution pieces in hand.
And getting to see an Epic Splash. And double heads. Gets there, takes the prize, gets a Gambler off the top of the prizes there. We see the Battle City come back into play. And a Delivery Drone. So if I get to flip 2 hits on that, I get to search my deck for any card I'd like. Unfortunately, double tails, and we just see the Lima there. And a Heads, so drawing 6, and Stefan gets also Heads. Therefore, he would also be drawing 6 of the Lima. And both players pretty balanced on the flip so far in this game. A bit of missing, as we always see with these attacks. I mean, if you get to flip all heads in these Epic Splash games, you win really fast and really easily. But of course, a bit balance is always needed in any format. And basically just looking for carbs, looking for ways of protecting themselves here. Because in this case here, Stefan, if he gets an Epic Splash off and the Fear Belt hadn't been attached, he would get the knockout. So therefore, Fear Belt has to be in there to protect that magic card. But then again, if Stefan hits something like Windstorm, Field Blower, and whatnot, he would have to get the knockout there off the Epic Splash if he flips a double heads. But not something that we see in the hand currently. He has to be digging for it, so he goes for the Random Receiver. Digs through many cards of his deck, and he gets the Handiwork, which is actually usually a really good hit off the Random Receiver. But since Stefan is in a position where he wants to be digging through his deck to try and get this knockout and get to take a win, he's not quite there. He does have Versus Seekers in hand. He's going to go for a Battle City, draw an extra card. See, that's a Digger. Digger's not going to help here because the Magic card would have 70 HP off the Fighting Fear Belt. And he would land himself in a chance of him flipping tails off the Digger, meaning that my Epic Splash will be able to take him out. So we're just going to see the Timid Handiwork here. Discarding Gym Badge and Versus Seeker. Really good discards off the Handiwork there. And we see double heads on Epic Splash, but because of that Fighting Fear Belt, we get to see the Magic Cup staying alive, staying all good, and we see the Lima there being played. And as there is in the standard format as well, there's a lot of shuffling in this, and there's a lot of flipping. Not as we see in the standard format, the flipping, but the shuffling is going to be a lot part of this format. Of course, divided by Gambler, Dual Ball, stuff like Lima as well, and Random Receiver, and you can continue on for years with that. But we do take a second card, getting that bench real quickly there. We see a Gambler. Can we continue streaks of hitting heads on Gambler? We can. Okay. So, another heads of Gambler. Game continues in my favor here. Getting another heads and Stefan being a bit angry with that. I haven't hit a tails off Gambler yet, and my deck's already looking quite more thinner than when we started, of course, drawing these massive amounts of cards. And we do see last of the notice of Blaine's card flip game here. And another trainer guess. And it's a trainer, so you get to draw 2. The multi-technical machine getting flipped there. We get to see a bit of the assembling of the evolutions here. Trying to check if stuff possible. Battle City. Tails. There's 3 evolutions in hand. Go for last. And Stefan sees the writing on the wall with the 3 evolutions. Myself being so close to getting all of the evolutions assembled into a game-winning combo when we smash him down. But not quite there yet. Only 3/5 of the way there. But so far, it's a really equal game. Of course, I don't have many carbs down as Stefan has. And of course, if Stefan gets there with the Windstorm and with flipping double heads, and of course I flipped the double 1 on Epic Splash. If you flip Snake Eyes on Epic Splash, you get to search yourself an evolution to get yourself closer to that win condition. And of course we see the Splash Energy hitting down there. And the Perilicity. The red side facing me. Stefan has 3 bench spaces. And he gets to flip double heads on Epic Splash, but I take 30. So 10 left. And this is where Digger could be interesting in next turn, of course. But with 4 evolutions gathered in hand, it's going to be interesting here. And we see a Gambler. So the question is to gamble or not. We choose not to gamble here. trying to choose gambling into trying to get that last evolutions piece. And the only supporter we see in Stefan's discard pile is, of course, Handiwork. And we see a double heads. So, or not just double heads, just one heads. Discarding 2 cards, not quite the evolution that he wanted to hit there. And goes for the Epic Splash. We just see an Epic Splash hitting it back. And it's going to be nothing. But of course, if I had double heads on Epic Splash, it would only do 20 damage because of the red side of the Parallel City and not getting knocked out. But we see getting in the Birch there. And it's going to be interesting whether or not I play it because I said with 4 evolutions in hand. So it could be a question of me trying to fin the deck to try and draw that last evolutions piece. Or if we give up on them for the moment being, trying to draw more cards and thinning out my deck even further. But we just see an Epic Splash, so not going to go for it, and just does 20 damage. Only put 10 on, but it should have been 20 on a Magikarp break. And unfortunately, it seems as something that's been missed totally here. Not going to have the biggest impact here, unless the Magikarp with Defying Fury Belt stays alive and gets to do another double heads of Epic Splash, and we have an issue here. But it's going to be double heads off the Elima. Stefan had to disrupt whenever you sit with 4 evolutions pieces in the hand. And we get to see a lot of cards drawn here. Not quite sure what is drawn. There was a couple of evolutions in my hand. We see Tails out of Roller Skates. And Stefan's hand looking quite dead at the moment. Not a lot to play with. Not a lot to do. And we just see the Epic Splash. No. The Magikarp stays alive with 60 on it. And see the Break Evolution on the bench to keep that alive. Not trying to take any more risks than necessary. A fail off the Epic Splash. Oh, that was a Handiwork. Yes. Sorry to say. There comes the Epic Splash. And yeah, that also fails. See Detachment. And a Birch. Stefan gets another Tails. He hasn't been lucky at all on these card flipping cards pretty much. And I mean, when it comes to it, he has put himself in a dangerous position here. He has to start grabbing these knockouts to try and put the pressure on. But he doesn't quite get there. And he gets the double heads. So he gets to take a knockout. I get to promote my Magikarp break. And we'd see. We see another top decking of the Evolutions piece. And I think that's free in hand. It's going to be quite interesting what's going to go on here. Of course, checking Stefan's discard pile. Seeing what he has of options down there. Going to go for Handiwork first. Double heads and gets out 2 evolution pieces. Basically rendering Stefan unable to win the game off the evolutions, which at this moment of time seemed like the best option for him to win. And now it just seems that Stefan has to try and bite his way through this Magikarp break. And with Stefan, as far as I remember, not playing Fighting Fury Ball in his list. Oh, he does play 1, but he has to hit it. We see 2 cards discarded, not evolution, and of course the Among Us gets discarded off the Handiwork. But with the ability of Among Us, it's only when it's discarded from hand of either an effect of a trainer card or an ability. We see double heads on Epic Splash. It's going to get dangerous here. See what's going to go on here. Do you see the Versus Seeker for Handiwork? Flip 2 and gets discard 2. And we see a Gambler and a Leafeon. Wow. All of these evolution pieces getting discarded by the Handiwork is getting too much. But we see the Buddy Rescue. Stefan being able to return a Pokemon from his discard pile. Retrieves the Flareon. I get back to Magikarp to make sure that could stay alive here. We're going to see the deliberation of trying to play Chaos Gem, but no. But we see a Gambler hitting another heads. My. Gambler getting in there with the heads and drawing another 8. And with that, it's getting to a point of being obscene at the moment. It's amazing all these heads getting hit on the Gambler, and we're dangerously close to a point where it's getting further and further likely, with all evolution pieces being in deck, that I can get to grab all 5 parts of the evolution Exodia and get there. But we see some deliberation, see the option, can't quite see what's in hand. Gym Badge comes, 1 heads, 2 heads, 3 heads off the table, and just 3 heads. That was on 30, that magic card break. So we see 3 heads and 3 cards drawn. I might just see a win here. So the splash energy gets this card attached to active. And we see deliberation here because we have Blaine's Gamble in the hand. Blaine's Gamble says that you can discard any amount of cards in your hand, flip a coin. If heads, you get to draw twice the amount of cards that you discarded, but if tails, it does nothing. So you're going to see the Blaine's Gamble. We're going to see how many cards getting discarded here. We're going to see the initiative getting discarded. Chaos Gems 2. 3 with Blaine's Last Stand. 4. And it's going to be 8 cards if it flip heads. And we see the 5th card. So it's going to be 10 cards if heads is being flipped. Heads it is. We get to see 10 cards being drawn here. And we may even get to see evolutions hit the field. And we see 2 at the end. I think it's there. I think it's there. And we'd see it. Yes, we're deliberating. And boom. All 5 pieces of the Evolution Exodia. And Stefan going ham on the board. Myself slamming the board at Stefan's. And we see a 3-0 sweep in this epic splash game. What an exciting way to see it. And I couldn't wish for any better result of this, of course. And we just get to see Stefan losing, unfortunately, basis of all of these tails flip that he has. He flips so many tails off Gambler. Handy works. His epic splashes were fine, but also the Gambler he gets to play, they were almost all of them were tails. And with that, it concludes the first recorded epic splash game of our new format. Of course, I hope you guys enjoyed this class in Stefan's classroom, even though it wasn't Stefan teaching. And of course, I hope you're seeing back for another class in Stefan's classroom in the near future. It's been Jesper Eriksson for the commentary. And of course, we've been playing side Stefan Eriksson and myself. It's been a pleasure to watch, and I hope to see you very soon.